Okay, and it looks like we are live on Facebook. Welcome to all of our Facebook attendees to today's webinar. We have cash coins and conversations with United Bank. But before we start, I just want to go over some housekeeping items. During this webinar, there are two ways in which you can ask your questions. The first one is you can submit your questions via our Q&A section here on Zoom. And for our Facebook attendees, you can submit your questions either Facebook Messenger or in the comment box. And we will have some time at the end of the webinar to answer those live with our experts today. Before we start with the presentation, I want to go over what the Hispanic Chamber does, the services that we offer, and of course, the benefits of becoming a member. So our vision here at the Chamber is to continue to be the core component for the El Paso region in fostering entrepreneurial economic development, where our existing companies are growing, where our entrepreneurs are reaching new horizons, and where our small minority and women-owned businesses are thriving and outpacing all other markets. If you are looking to become a member, please give us a call. Some of the benefits that you can get from our annual membership includes networking, business development, advocacy, access to financing, and procurement. Here at the Chamber, we have 3 ETA centers. The first one is the Women's Business Voters Center. It is a joint partnership of El Paso Hispanic Chamber and the United States Small Business Administration. So we work directly with our district office, but also our offices over at Washington, D.C. Here we focus on assisting businesses from 0 up to 3 years. We also have our MBDA Business Center, where we focus more on businesses that have been operating for more than 3 years. We also offer access to contracts in case you're looking to work with the local, state, or even federal government. And lastly, but not least, we have our MWEDC. We actually have a physical location right on Executive, where we have all the technology needed for our business and entrepreneurs to take their business to another level. For those businesses that are looking to grow global, we can assist you with that. And as I said, in our today's Cash Coins and Conversations, we have our partners over at United Bank, and we will be covering very interesting topics about the second round of the PPP loan forgiveness application and all the documentation that it's needed in order for apply. And I want to welcome Mr. Leandro Brandi, Assistant Vice President of Commercial Lending at United Bank, Paso del Norte, and of course, Ms. Arlene Cortez, Credit Officer and Manager of Financial Analysts over at United Bank as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Leandro and Arlene, for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know that you are very busy right now with applications, with clients. So we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise with our members and our community to, of course, facilitate the process of the application. And I will start sharing the presentation that our speakers will be covering today. And of course, I will let them share a little bit more about what they do and the services that they offer. So welcome, Mr. Leandro and Ms. Arlene. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, our topic is the second round of the SBA PPP or Paycheck Protection Program loans presented by United Bank. Next page, please. This is important to note. We just want to point out, of course, this is not legal advice, nor is this the final word on today's topics. As you know, the SBA is always updating information on their guidance and resources. So the information you may hear today may change later on. So please keep that in mind. The topics to be covered today include the background on the Paycheck Protection Program. We're going to review some myths and facts, when and where to apply, who can apply for the loan, the general eligibility requirements, the affiliation rules, excluded entities, how you can spend the loan, the summary of the key terms of the second round PPP loans, the application process and completion time, the loan forgiveness, and also the economic injury disaster loan program. Next page, please. So a little bit of background on United Bank. It was founded by a group of local businessmen and businesswomen in 2001. Today, it's owned as a stock institution with nearly 500 local shareholders. We have 4 locations to serve you, 1 in downtown, 1 on the west side of El Paso, and 2 on the east side locations in El Paso. Next page, please. Thank you. My name is Arlene Cortez. As Tanya said earlier, I manage the financial analysis department for United Bank. I have been with United Bank for over 6 years, and I have over 10 years in commercial banking experience. I graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso with a bachelor's in finance. I was also born and raised here in El Paso. Next slide, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Tanya and Arlene, for the nice words and the introduction. My name is Leandro Brandi. I'm an Assistant Vice President of Commercial Lending at United Bank. I've been here at the bank for 4 years. I start in the Financial Analyst Department with Arlene, and then I was promoted to the Lending Department in 2019. I also graduated from UTEP with a BBA in Marketing, and I completed 2 master degrees, one in accounting and one in finance. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, lived for 10 years in Mexico, and then I moved to El Paso in 2010. I'm also a member of the board of directors of the Hispanic Chambers of Commerce here in El Paso. Next slide, please. So just to give you a brief background of the new payment protection program. So this second draw. On December of 2020, President Trump signed the economic aid to hard-hit small businesses, nonprofit, and venues act, known as the Economic Aid. This is to provide assistance to individuals and businesses that has been financially impacted by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Today, we are going to be focusing on the Section 311 of this act, which authorizes the United States Small Business Association, the SBA, to guarantee additional loans under the Paycheck Protection Program known as the PPP. This was originally established under the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act to provide economic relief nationwide to all those businesses affected by the pandemic. And this was issued back in March of 2020 by Mr. Trump. Next slide, please. So we also wanted to give you some myths and facts about the PPP program. Number one of the big myths around this program is that the PPP only support large corporations and not small businesses. Well, we want to tell you guys that this is a very big myth. Of those businesses that receive a PPP loan for the first draw, 75% of them which had 9 employees or fewer. Also, 87% of these loans were loans of 150,000 or less, and not a single eligible independent contractor, sole proprietor, or small businesses that applied for a PPP loan and was approved before the PPP close was precluded from receiving this funding. It is also important to mention that more than 130 billion that were available for the first round remain unclaimed. So this is the time for you guys to apply for this new round and get this money. Next page, please. The other myth that we wanna talk about is that the PPP did not support workers. Well, this is also a huge myth. Just to tell you, this program was designed to keep Americans employed. And it's important to mention that the program support more than 51 million American jobs. And during 2020, more than 80% of the small business payroll in the United States was covered with PPP funding. So keep this in mind, please, when you're applying and you listen things about the PPP program. Next slide, please. So when and where you can apply for this loan. Borrowers that apply for the second PPP loan can do it until March 31st of 2021. However, as we already mentioned, this is an ongoing process and it's very dynamic. So it may occur that the SBA changes the deadline for the applications. So please, stay in touch with your lenders and be always, trying to access the SBA website to get information. Where you can apply? You can apply through any existing SBA 7(a) lender or any federally insured depository institution or federally insured credit union or eligible no-bank lender or any farm credit system institution that is participating in the PPP program. Remember that for all second draw PPP loans, all these institutions will have the same terms regardless which is the lender. So even if you apply with the 7(a) lender, or if you go to a credit union, or you apply with a farm credit system institution, all of them will provide you with the same terms. Next slide, please. Who can apply for these loans? Well, two things. Number one, borrowers that previously received a PPP loan under Section 7836 of the Small Business Act. So you need to have the first PPP loan in file. And secondly, borrowers that have used all the funds that were approved in the first PPP draw. Remember that the SBA guarantees 100% of the second PPP loans, and these loans may be forgiven as the first loans as well. Next slide, please.
Next, we will be talking about the general eligibility requirements. So this includes businesses that have 300 or fewer employees. The business must have experienced a 25% revenue reduction in 2020 relative to 2019. This will be measured quarter to quarter, and this is in calendar quarters, or also by an annual reduction. It's important to note that applicants must provide supporting documentation reflecting the revenue reduction, for example, with profit and loss statements, and also any forgiveness amount of the first draw PPP loan that the borrower received in calendar year 2020 is excluded from the borrower's gross receipts. Next page, please. Next, we will be talking about the affiliation rules. The same affiliation rules that apply to the first draw PPP loans will apply here. In most cases, the borrower is considered together with its affiliates to determine eligibility for the PPP loan. The CARES Act waived the affiliation rules for certain categories of borrowers. In general, the same waivers apply to the second draw PPP loans. In addition, it adds a waiver for certain eligible news organizations. It also makes adjustments to reflect the reduced size requirement for second draw PPP loans. Specifically, business concerns with the NAICS code beginning with 72 qualify for the affiliation waiver for second draw loans if they employ 300 or fewer employees. Eligible news organizations with NAICS code beginning with 51110 or 5151 may qualify for the affiliation waiver for the second draw PPP loan only if they employ 300 or fewer employees per physical location. Next slide, please. Next, we will be talking about the excluded entities. So in general, entities that were ineligible to receive a first draw PPP loan under the CARES Act are also ineligible for a second draw PPP loan. Some of the additional categories include entities primarily engaged in political or lobbying activities, certain entities organized under or with ties to the laws of the People's Republic of China or the Special Administrative Region of Hong Kong, any person required to submit a registration statement under Section 2 of the Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938, any person or entity that received a grant for shuttered venue operators under Section 324 of the Economic Aid Act, entities in which the president, the vice president, the head of an executive department, or a member of Congress or the spouse of such person that owns, controls, or holds at least 20% of any class of equity. In addition, it also excludes publicly traded companies and, of course, permanently closed businesses. Next page, please.
So how can you spend the loan's proceeds? So as in the first draw, you can use the money that the SBA give you for payroll costs, including benefits. You can also use it for mortgage interest payments, for rent expenses and utility expenses. Next slide, please. In addition, the second draw PPP loans now allows proceeds to be used for the following. Number one, worker protection costs related to COVID-19. This could be a ventilation system, physical barriers, and drive-through facilities. Also, uninsured property damage caused by looting or vandalism during 2020. And finally, certain supplier costs and expenses for operations. Next slide, please. Now we will be talking about the payroll cost calculation. So the general rule, the time period for this calculation, it's a 12-month period prior to when the loan is made. If you want to simplify your calculation, you can also use the calendar year 2019 or the calendar year 2020. There are different rules that apply for some other type of businesses, such as seasonal businesses, new entities, entities in which the NAICS code begin with the number 72, which are hotels and restaurants, self-employed individuals, and partnership. It's our understanding that you will have a different webinar for the calculation of this, so we are not going to be describing each single calculation, but if you're interested on the details, you can always contact us and we can provide with more details, and we can also provide with the final ruling from the SBA, which has details for every single type of calculation. So some eligible and not eligible payroll cost. For the eligible payroll cost, we have cash compensation such as salaries, wages, commission, bonuses, or similar compensations. You can include in the calculation of the payroll the payment for vacations, parental, family, medical, or sick leave. Also, you can include the allowance for dismissal or separation and the payment for group healthcare benefit, including insurance payment. Some of these insurance payments can be life insurance payment, vision, dental, and disability insurance premiums. Also, you can include the employer paid retirement benefits such as the 401k contribution and the payment of the state and local taxes that you do as part of the payroll. Next slide, please. Some payroll costs that are not eligible. So number one thing that you need to keep in mind is that there is a cap of $100,000 for the employees and the owners as well. So if you have any owner or any employee that is earning more than $100,000, you will have to adjust the calculation of the payroll just to reflect 100,000. Also, you cannot include the employer portion of the federal taxes. That cannot be included. Or you cannot include any compensation to employees whose principal place of residency is outside of the United States. So if you have employees that cross the bridge every day, for example, and comes to work here, they are part of your payroll because you give them W-2s, but they are not considered part of this program. You cannot include them. Also, you cannot include any qualified sick and family leave for which a credit is allowed under section 7001 and 7003 of the Family First Coronavirus Response Act. And finally, but very, very important, you cannot add any employee with compensation comes as an independent contractor. So if you pay to your employees with W-2, that's fine. If they receive a 1099, they cannot be included as part of the payroll cost. They are able to apply for the PPP by themselves, but you cannot include them as part of your payroll. What documentation do you need to provide when you are applying for this loan? Well, two things. If you are going to apply using your 2020 payroll information, you will have to provide your lender with either W-2s, a W-3, or Forms 941. If you decide to use the information that you use for the first draw, so the information for 2019, if that is the case, you don't have to submit any additional documentation if your lender already have all the documentation in file. Here, there is a point that it's important to mention. If for any reason you guys reduce the amount of your employees, you will have to adjust your payroll calculation. For example, if during 2019 you have 20 employees and you have 20 W-2s, but at the time of the application for the second draw, you only have 15 employees, you will have to remove from the calculation those W-2s corresponding to the employees that are not longer part of your business. And it's also important to note that the lender may request additional documentation if it is concluded that this documentation will be useful in conducting the lender's good faith review of the borrower's loan amount calculation. So the lender may request additional documentation at any time. Next slide, please. So now we'll give you a brief summary of the key terms for the second PPP loans. These are some of them, but they're not limited to the following terms. The maximum loan amount that you guys can require is the lesser of 2.5 times the average monthly 2019 or 2020 payroll cost, or $2 million. Also, this is important for businesses that are in the accommodation or the food services sector. The calculation is different. Instead of 2.5, you'll use a 3.5 factor, and you will multiply that by the average monthly 2019 or 2020 payroll cost, or $2 million as well. Remember that these loans are 100% guaranteed by the SBA. There is no collateral required, there is no personal guarantees required, and all the loans will be processed by all lenders under their delegated authority, and the lenders will be permitted to rely on the certifications of the borrowers to determine the borrower's eligibility for the use of these proceeds. So with this being said, be very careful when you put your initials on the application and when you sign the application, because you are the responsibles for the application, not the lenders. Also, it's important to note that businesses that are part of a single corporate group shall in no event receive more than $4 million for a second PPP loan. Next slide, please. Finally, the repayment terms. So the repayment terms of these loans are as follows. Based on the remaining of your loan, if any, so let's say that you receive a loan for $10,000, but after the forgiveness, you have a remaining $2,000, so a leftover of $2,000. For those $2,000, you'll have to pay a 1% interest rate, which is calculated on a non-compounding and not adjustable basis. The maturity of these loans is 5 years. Next slide, please.
Next, we will be talking about the application process and the completion time. Estimated time for completing the application, including gathering the data, is about 8 minutes. However, of course, the estimated time to fill out the application varies for each borrower based on the complexity of their business. Next, you will submit the application and the supporting documentation to the lender electronically. After that, the lender will then perform a good faith review of the borrower's calculations and the supporting documentation concerning the borrower's revenue reduction. If the lender identifies errors in the borrower's calculation or material lack of substantiation in the borrower's supporting documents, the lender will then work with the borrower to remedy the issue. Next page, please. After that, the lender will then submit the application to the SBA. Once the SBA receives it, they will review the application. Review time will vary due to the SBA's workload and/or the loans in their queue. Once they review, the lender may receive notification of any errors that may need to be resolved before the SBA can approve the second draw. After that, the lender will receive notification of approval or denial of the application of the loan. If approved, the lender will then prepare loan documents for signature. Preparation time of these documents will vary due to the loans in queue for the lender. Once those are prepared, they will be sent to the borrower for signature, and then after that, they will be funded to the borrower's account. Next page, please. Next, we will be talking about loan forgiveness. So the second draw PPP loans made to eligible borrowers qualify for full loan forgiveness if during the 8 to 24 week covered period following the loan disbursement, if the employee and compensation levels are maintained in the same manner as required for the first draw PPP loan. The loan proceeds are spent on payroll costs and other eligible expenses, and at least 60% of the proceeds are spent on payroll costs. So if you submit to your lender a loan forgiveness application within 10 months after the end of the loan of the spending period, which is 8 to 24 weeks, you will not have to make any payments of principal on interest on your loan before that date. However, after the 10 months, you will have to start making principal and interest payments. So we highly recommend that after the 24-week period, which you have to spend the loan, the 10 months following that, that you start to prepare your loan forgiveness application. So During those 10 months, if you submit your loan forgiveness application to your lender, hopefully by the end of the 10 months, your loan will be forgiven and you will not have a balance and you will be done with your loan. The SBA may provide further guidance if needed through SBA notices and a program guide, which will be posted on the website at www.sba.gov. Next page, please. An additional resources business might want to check out. There is an Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program known as an EIDL. These are low interest loans of up to $2 million with principal and interest deferment at the SBA's discretion. EIDL loan proceeds can be used to pay for expenses that could have been met had the disaster not occurred, including payroll and other operating expenses. Next page, please. Eligibility requirements for these types of loans include businesses with 500 or fewer employees, and also include sole proprietorships and independent contractors. They must have suffered substantial economic injury as a result of a disaster or emergency, which now includes COVID-19. Next page, please. There is an option to obtain an emergency advance of up to $10,000 within 3 days of when the SBA receives the EIDL application. Next page. The general loan terms for these types of loans. The proceeds can be used for working capital and normal operating expenses. The interest rates depend on the type of business. Regular businesses can receive a 3.75% fixed rate. Nonprofits can receive a 2.75% fixed rate. These loans are based on a 30-year term. There are no prepayment penalties or fees. Collateral will be required for loans over $25,000. For this, the SBA uses a general security agreement designating business assets as collateral. This includes, for example, machinery and equipment, furniture and fixtures, etc. of the business. Payments, they can be deferred up to 1 year. However, interest will still accrue on the loans. Now, it's important to note that banks are not working with the SBA for this loan program. This program, you must apply directly through the SBA application portal for COVID-19 EIDL loans on their website. So if this loan program seems like something that interests you or could help you, you need to apply through the SBA website. And you can find more information on the website at www.sba.gov/disaster.
Also, if you need more information about the Payment Protection Program, the PPP program, you can contact our district office for the SBA. They do have local assistance. The office is located at 211 North Florence Street at the second floor, Suite 201 here in El Paso, Texas. Next slide, please. And it's also important to remember that the PPP guidance and resources are available on the U.S. Department of Treasury and the SBA website. As we mentioned several times through this presentation, this is a very dynamic process and the application forms may change. So please keep reviewing these websites. Next slide, please. Also, very, very important, we have seen a lot of frauds related to the PPP program. So please be aware of any fraudulent calls, emails, or any communication attempt to access your account. If you receive any suspicious call, or if you have doubts about an email or something, please contact your lender and tell them about this problem so they can help you. Next slide, please. Also, please be advised that United Bank is prioritizing our clients for the new PPP applications. Our recommendation for you is to assist with the lender that helped you with the first PPP loan, as they already have all your information and the process will be simpler. However, if you have any questions or if you need to contact us or if you need any additional information, here are our email address. You can also access our website, which is www.unitedelpaso.com, or you can call us at 915-231-2500. Next slide, please. So with this, we conclude our presentation. Thank you very much for your time and for being here with us. And we open the discussions for any questions.
Okay, thank you so much for this awesome presentation. It was very informative. I know that a lot of people is going to benefit from this presentation, so thank you. And we actually have been receiving some questions via Facebook Messenger and via Zoom as well. So are we ready to start with the questions?
Yes.
Okay, so the first question that we got is, so this person is saying that she still owns money from the first round of PPP. Can she still apply for the second round?
The answer to that question is yes. It's always important to know how much money she still have. For example, let's say that she has, I don't know, all the proceeds from the first loan in her account. That money needs to be used prior to the second loan that's approved.
Okay, awesome. So we also got some questions regarding the EIDL program. So one person is asking, is the EIDL cash advance still available? Can they still apply to get the cash advance?
As far as our understanding is yes.
Yes, okay. The second one regarding this person is asking, if I applied for the EIDL, can I still apply for the first round of PPP?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Awesome, there you go. We also have another question. Do I need to have a good credit in order to qualify for any of these loans?
No, there is no personal guarantees on this loan, so the SBA is not going to check any personal credit reports.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so actually yesterday I was in a webinar regarding the new grants for live venue events. And you know how there's going to be a grant available and that's money that they don't have to pay back. So we actually have one person asking, I applied for the first round of PPP and I am getting ready to apply for the second one as well. Can I still apply for the live venue event grant once it's opened? Do you know if they can still apply for it?
I believe the answer is no. If you're going to apply for a second round loan, you cannot receive the special venue loan, one or the other.
Okay, there you have it. So it's one or the other. If you already applied for the second round, you're gonna have to stick to the PPP. Another question that we got is, so you mentioned that you are giving priority to United Bank customers, right? Do they need to make an appointment in order to submit their application, or can they just call you, send it to you via email?
It is very important for all the clients to know that our lobbies are closed right now. So the best way to contact us is either via phone or email. And we can set up maybe a conference call to discuss the possibilities of new clients. As we said, we are prioritizing our clients at United Bank, and it will be easier for any person that applied for a first PPP loan to continue applying for the second draw with the same institution, just because it's simpler, as you know, they will have all the information ready in the files.
Okay, thank you so much. So for our attendees asking if you already applied with a certain financial institution for the first round, our experts recommend that you apply for the second one with the same institution since it's an easier process. We actually have some questions from Ms. Victoria. She's asking, I have never applied for the PPP. Am I eligible?
Yes, but not for the second draw. The SBA reopened the portal for applications for the first draw. So she will have to apply for the first PPP loans instead of the second.
Right, thank you so much. Another question, profit and loss statements. What documentation would we use? We are mid-year, 2019, 2020.
Is that question come from the same individual?
Yes, from Ms. Victoria.
Okay, so Victoria, as I mentioned, you will have to apply for the first PPP round, not the second one, because you haven't applied for the first one yet. So if that is the case, you don't need to worry for profit and loss statement, because the first application doesn't require any comparisons on revenues. In case you need an answer for your questions about P&L statements, you can use any in-house information. It doesn't have to be a tax return, because we know that the majority of the people haven't filed yet.
Okay, awesome. So she has another question. She's asking, do I need to have an account with United Bank to be helped? Of course, our experts mentioned you don't have to, but of course they're giving priority to their clients. And she's also saying, can I make an appointment to see about getting some help with you? This process can be a bit overwhelming for a small business owner.
Yes, of course.
Yes, and we're actually gonna be sharing their contact information again on the chat box, so you can get it, or just give us a call and we are happy to send you the information, Ms. Victoria. So next question, is there still funding, and is there a date for the application to be submitted?
There is still funding. A specific date, well, the last date to apply for second round PPP loans is March 31st of this year. However, the SBA may extend it, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So the last date to apply is March 31st, and there is still funding.
Okay, awesome. We have another person asking, how long does it take to get approved?
I think that just varies. The turnaround time for the SBA, I've seen loans come in less than a week, but like I said, it just depends on their queue, and of course, how many loans they have submitted at the time. So it just varies, and if all the documentation and everything is complete, it will be faster, but it does.
Okay. Awesome. So they also want to know how can they prove that they used 60% on payroll?
Okay, so are we talking about the forgiveness application, I guess, right?
Yes, this is regarding the forgiveness process.
Okay. So with the forgiveness application here at United Bank, what we are requesting is a summary of the payroll expenses during the cover period, which is either 8 weeks or 24. And then we are also requesting the forms 941 corresponding to that cover period. With that, they will be able to prove that at least they use 60% for payroll costs.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, what if I lost employees and can't prove the 60% spent of on payroll, of course. Do I have to pay the loan, and how much is the interest rate and payment plans?
Okay. So there are different forms that the applicants can complete. The majority of them are completing the 3508 EC, which states that you know, in order for them to complete it, they need to at least keep 75% of their employees. If that number goes over the 25% reduction, so if they fire more than 25% of their employees, or for some reason they lost a greater amount, they will have to complete the long form, which is the 3508 with no letters at the end. And that form will give them the opportunity to disclose all the employees that for some reason were fired or they're not longer part of the business. And it will give them instruction on how to calculate the final forgiveness amount based on these reductions. And the second part of the question, sorry, was?
So how much is the interest rate and payment loan and payment plans?
So once the loan is forgiven, let's say that there is leftover on the amount, on the original amount, that that leftover will have a 1% interest rate, which is fixed, and the term of the note will be a 5-year note. So they will have 60 months to repay.
Awesome. And we have another person asking if there's still funding for the first round of PPP, and the answer is
yes.
Thank you. And let's see. Okay, we have one last question, and that is, do I do the forgiveness application alone, or can a lender do this for me?
That's a hard question. Well, as lenders, we try to help each applicant, but the best answer to that question is to contact your CPA and your attorneys to get help. If you have questions, you can contact us, but the best answer will always comes from the CPAs and the attorneys.
Right, there you have it. So you can always reach out to your financial institution and ask for guidance. However, it is best to have your CPA help you with the loan forgiveness application. So that's it from questions. And I just wanted to say thank you, United Bank. Thank you, Ms. Arlene, Mr. Leandro, for joining us today and sharing your knowledge and expertise in this topic. We know that everything keeps changing. So if we have additional information, we'll be sharing that in our Facebook page. You can go and follow us as El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. If you have questions, please call us. You can come to our office or schedule an appointment to talk to any of our business development specialists. So thank you so much, and we'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you.